Hello, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Spilled Milk, the podcast. My name is Rakisha Williams. I'm your executive director of Milk Like Mine, the community birthing and breastfeeding service center, where I serve as a birth and postpartum doula, lactation counselor, and specialist. And I am the childbirth educator and mentor here as well. We have a special guest joining us today, Miss Darika. Feel free to introduce yourself.
Hello. So I am Darika Williams. I'm a entrepreneur, a mother, and a content creator. So
Excellent, excellent. So we are featuring Derica today because she's going to talk to us a little bit about what pregnancy was like for her, labor, delivery, and motherhood. And she's going to drop some gems on us and have some real talk. We'll also cover postpartum mental health briefly, breastfeeding ups and downs and ins and outs, and try to have some encouraging content out for y'all today. All right, so Miss Derica. Talk to me about your pregnancy. When you found out you were pregnant, as you were going through the months, and just do a little storytelling for us today.
okay. I always laugh about my story, finding out I was pregnant. You have people around you that's like, "You're pregnant, you're pregnant."
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, "No."
I'm one of those people that is
I
like,
was,
"You're pregnant, you're pregnant." Yeah.
I was in denial to the fullest. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
even one of my first pregnancy symptoms was the constantly going to the bathroom,
Uh-huh.
and I was like, "No, my period's just coming."
Period was like, psych.
I don't know when that has become a sign. I was like, I'm gonna go buy my pads, and because that's like a superstition. If you get them, it'll make it come. It didn't
Oh,
come.
yeah,
No, it didn't
that's not
come.
gonna
Yeah,
work.
and I was like, oh my goodness. So I actually had promised one of my close friends that weekend, if it still didn't come, that I would take the test.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, I'm just tripping. It's gonna say negative.
Mm-hmm.
So I went and got one, and
And
it
not
instantly
negative.
popped up, and I was like, I took another one. I think over the course of 3 to 4 days, I took like 2 tests every day because I was like, this not real. This can't be real.
Mm-hmm. So you have your positive pregnancy test.
Yeah.
What were your feelings?
I was shaking because it wasn't something that was planned or even thought of at the time. I feel like I was still going through kind of reinventing myself at my age and like trying to. I had these. Well, I shouldn't say had. I have these dreams of a successful beauty business and doing all these things, and so the baby was. It was kind of thrown into the loop. I understand why I feel like it was needed, but in that moment I remember shaking, and it was like I wanted to cry, but at the same time I always felt like when it was time for me to have a baby, it would be time for me to have a baby.
I love that.
Yeah, so it was like it was so unexpected, but at the same time I felt like, okay, this is what you got thrown at you, and you got to make the best of it. So
knock it out the park.
Yeah. So my emotions were so everywhere. Oh my God, I remember just thinking like, I don't. I have to tell everybody. I start going. You gotta say it like, oh, is this real? Yeah.
Excellent. So, how'd your mom take it?
My mom. I feel like a little background. I think for my mom, her thing was, it happens when it's supposed to happen. So, and everything does happen for a reason.
Absolutely.
I think for her, my situation was triggering because it was almost like watching her again, her oldest daughter, her first child,
absolutely
go through the same thing or similar, really, really similar as what she went through. And so that trauma was kind of there. And then my child's father is somebody I have known since we were kids, literally in 5th grade. And then so we've already had our run-ins, and moms be like, leave them alone.
Yep.
I ain't leave them alone.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was, and she's so Southern, so they just they so honest.
Yeah, boy. I love your mom though, because as things went on with you and throughout your pregnancy, I was always able to see not just her mother you,
Yeah.
but her to be a real support.
Sorry.
No,
Yeah.
you're okay.
Yeah.
For her to be a real support for you.
Yeah, she was.
And her heart is so big.
Yes.
Her heart is so big.
Yeah.
And shout out to Derica's mom.
Yes.
Because she shows up in the community in a way that most people won't.
Yes.
And she shows up for children the way that most people
yes.
won't.
Yeah.
So I knew that even if it was like that, oh girl, didn't I tell you?
Yes.
That eventually she would tap right back into the person.
She was.
That she was.
And it was just that first moment, but every doctor's appointment, everything. I mean, from her leaving work to like, she has been my backbone, and it's interesting to see even the way that I feel like she has grown since me being pregnant and finding new ways to like, for us to learn a bond and for her to figure out different ways of supporting me. I definitely, I don't know how I would have got to it without her.
But even with our first meeting one another, she was there.
She was there. Yeah,
she was there.
She made sure.
She made sure she did not miss it.
Yeah, she
and I think that everybody needs somebody like that, whether it's the mom or the significant other or the sibling or the friend or a random person that they met that they just bonded with. I feel like everybody needs somebody like that, but when it's your mom, it makes it so much more intense and there's so much beauty added to that version of support because she's slowly but surely passing you the torch.
Yes.
Right?
And that's exactly how it felt.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I always look at it now and I'm like, I think it was, for me, it was really empowering to see my mom in more of that softer state because she was a single mom. And single moms are so strong and you see the strength all the time. But I was allowed to see the softness of her in in a different light of watching, like, I'm sure it's a different experience to see your first child have her first child.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's go to when you first met me at Milk Like Mine. How did you find out about us?
So for you, with you, I'm a very spiritual person, and so I always knew, like, when I got pregnant, well, my vision was this home birth. I want my doula. I had like the highest, most spiritual standards you can think of in a pregnancy. So I always knew I wanted a doula. And I think Michigan had just passed that with Medicaid that you can get a doula. The reimbursement, yep. And so I was like, okay, either way it's going to work out. I get to have a doula. Like, and then I can't count how many people pointed me to you. I mean, from doulas that I know, from my friends, my OB pointed you out. I had a friend who pointed you out. I mean, every time I said doula, your name came up. And so it got to the point where I was like, okay, I
appreciate that.
I mean, and when I mean everybody, because I was very open about, I wanted an African American doula. I want to be able to be advocated for in ways that are super duper important, but only Black women can understand. Yeah.
So talk to me about that. So you just said a whole thing. Culturally, we have our own experiences, but I think there's also a trauma that is almost universal in our culture.
Yes.
And that's not something that we can even really describe. It's a feeling, right? So when you talk about wanting to have a doula that had representation that was reflective, right? How did it make you feel when you finally met me and I was like, I will be your doula. I'm the one.
When I met you, it was instant. Like, I like her. Which is, it's interesting, right? Because like with your OB, and you normally hear stories about people going through OBs and doulas, right? And they meet with so many people until they find that right person. That is one thing that I can reflect back and say I was really lucky between my OB, Brinkley, and then meeting my doula. I knew, and then when I met you guys, it was confirmation. Yeah, I don't know. It was just sometimes you meet people in life that have you instantly connect with, and it was an instant connection between us.
Absolutely. So I know that you and I have been through a lot over the course of your pregnancy.
Yeah.
How important is it, or how important was it for you to feel heard and advocated for throughout your pregnancy?
On a scale of 1 to 10, 100, when you said fears, it made me think about one of my biggest fears when I first got pregnant. You hear so many horror stories about African American women when they go into the hospital, and the things that happen. Our numbers are high, and C-section rates and everything, and that is one of the things that pointed me to doula. I want to be able to be advocated for, so that if unless it's 100% necessary for health of baby, let's take it there. So one of my biggest things was that nervousness of going in and not being advocated for the right way, or being looked at a certain way. And so with the doula, I felt like it gave me that opportunity to kind of enjoy my pregnancy without all the nervousness, right? And
because we worked through those, didn't we?
Yeah. And then you're so connected in the community and in the hospital that it's like there's no way. Like, people ask me about my experience now, and I'm like, well, my doula knew everybody, my nurses. So I got all the best nurses, you know. She spoke up for me when I'm like, nope, I don't want to do that. Okay, let's not do that. She found solutions. I wanted my OB there. Listen, she said, if you can get the baby out.
Hey, we did it.
You did.
We did it. It was funny to me because I walk into every birth with the same mindset.
Yeah.
I'm here for her. I work for her. But the atmosphere that I walk into, especially at our most local hospital, if I don't know you, we gonna get to know each other real fast.
Yeah.
and I think that made it a better experience, in that no matter how many shift changes we went through, because how long were we in the hospital?
Woo! I was a total of 7 days, and then before I had her, we were at 4 days of being in labor.
Yeah. So lots of shift changes, and we were hoping to continue to get the same set of nurses, but in actuality, no matter who walked into that door, we were ready, and there was a established comfortability, because I think that it's important for each shift change for us to reiterate the feelings, for us to reiterate the fears, for us to reiterate the expectations, so that nobody has to guess, right? So you and I are doing our childbirth education. I'm seeing you weekly. Yeah. And then one day I seen you after not seeing you for 2 weeks. And I was like, girl, what done changed? When I tell you, baby walked in so swollen, almost unrecognizable. And I was like, what is going on? What is going on? I'm like, how long has this been happening? And so, we do the different things where I go to massage her feet, and I'm feeling, and she had some pitted edema and things of that nature. And I was like, all right. So today we're actually going to talk about preeclampsia. And I didn't say it right away. I wanted you to get the information, learn the symptoms, and then what did you tell me? Ooh, I think I got that.
Yeah. No, that's literally how it went. I think before the preeclampsia, because it was like like, what's it called, domino effect of everything, right?
Absolutely.
So, because I went in after I just found out I was having a girl. She was just a little bit bigger, but it wasn't anything too crazy. And then they were like, you're measuring 4 weeks bigger. And then I went back, it was 4.5 weeks bigger. We thought it was gestational diabetes. It wasn't that. So we're like, okay, we're good. But then as you kept talking about the preeclampsia, and I have a couple of friends who had it, and like one friend, her birth story is so similar to mine. And so, and it's crazy, because that was also something that I was like, nope, I don't want that. It's not going to happen. And then it happened.
Because can you control it?
No, you can't.
Nope. Can't control it.
You can't.
We can do all the things.
Yeah.
You can drink plenty of water. You can stretch. You can
and
exercise.
I was so healthy.
And you can eat. And this girl is somebody who really values her body. So she was eating very healthy.
Yeah, my water.
And
all of it.
It was devastating but were you unprepared?
No, I was ready. We were
Yeah.
ready for it, and we knew. In another reason of a good thing of having my doula with me, because it was somebody else to advocate. All those times where they kept telling me, no, that's not it, that's not it. And we're like, no, this is it. And we're going to keep making sure that we're doing what we need to do to take care of it. So,
Absolutely.
definitely.
So, you had some labs ran on your urine,
Yeah.
and it was just below where they would have classified it preeclampsia.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, here's this blood pressure cuff. Why don't you take this home?
Yeah.
Keep your...
Do you remember that time I called you and I was like, are you busy? Because I just did a reading and it's super high, but I don't want to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
My baby shower is in like 2 weeks.
And what did my mom tell you? Oh, that baby finna be at that baby shower.
She did. She said, girl, she was like, they messed up your due date. Ain't no way you come have no baby December 16th. She's never going to make it that far.
What's another reason we didn't want December 16th? Do you remember?
Because you were going to be gone.
I was going to be gone.
Yeah, so either way, we were like, it has to be beforehand. But then she started measuring bigger, and we're like, okay, your original due date is sounding so much more correct.
Yeah.
Yes, everybody. And it's crazy because even my mom and my daughter's other grandma was like, I was looking at you and you just was showing so quick. And we were like, maybe we just gonna have a big baby. But then you didn't have the diabetes. So we like, what is going on? I'm like, oh, so everybody just looking at me like, you big. You done blew up.
And if any of you know her prior to pregnancy, yes. She wasn't but this big.
I was little.
She
was
little.
Little thing.
So after we got our first like borderline, you remember him saying, we're climbing up there. Yeah. We're not quite there yet. And then the next one they ran, it was like, how soon can we get her scheduled to come in for an induction?
Yes.
Because you were way over.
Yep. And that's when they made me stay for the
a little bit more than doubled.
Yep.
And we're talking proteins in the urine at this point. And her blood pressures were not great. They continued to be just scarily disgusting. Is the only thing that I can probably think is a way to describe it.
And it's crazy because I was fine my whole pregnancy. Yeah. Like it was good. We were perfect. Nothing was wrong. Nothing was going wrong.
You had a good pregnancy.
I had a really good pregnancy. Yeah. And then it was like towards that end.
Well, we got towards the end. We make it to the hospital. And do you feel great? Are you excited? Are you uncomfortable? How are you feeling?
I think at that point, I think I felt everything, right? Because we have been in and out of the triage since October. I have been having contractions since October. Now we're in November. And, it's like, it was validation, right? Because we knew all these things were happening and they kept, no. And then it was like, okay, nope. You're 100%. Everybody was on the right track. But then going in, I felt like I was so unprepared. Even with me going through because we started childbirth education, and then it was like I went from 20 weeks to 25 weeks. Everything went so
everything went very quickly.
Yeah.
What was some of your apprehension with walking into the hospital?
I think just not like. It's crazy because no matter, we sat down and we did all the techniques, right? For induction, you talked to me about it, the OB, the midwife. I've had all these people tell me how it could go, what to look for, what to expect. But you still are worried. Like you just, the unknown. I still don't know what's going to happen.
Absolutely.
Can I get my baby out in these, because our goal was like the 2-3 days, right? Can we get the baby out? I was already having contractions. We were thinning out, but okay, can I dilate?
It took, and for people that don't know, first-time moms often do thin out first, and then the dilation happens slowly but surely later. And then we expect once the water breaks that things will move. Yeah. Is that what happened?
No.
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 As a matter of fact, you had your water break what feels like twice, right?
Seriously. Early that morning.
Yeah.
I think it was 3-4 in the morning. I woke up and I was like, I'm standing, and it just, and I'm like, oh, is this
like what?
Is this happening?
I know I'm not peeing.
I was like, I was like, can I get a shower? It had been 2-3 days of me like, they was putting me through it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm gonna just get up and shower. And I was feeling the contractions. They were getting stronger. And I'm like, okay, this can't be it. And it's like, nope, we're getting some water breakage in there. Woo! But then later on that day, I think it was 5 o'clock. So from 3 in the morning, and then 5. It was like what, 5 in the afternoon, 4 in the afternoon, or the evening, I should say.
Evening.
It just completely broke.
Yeah. What were we doing when it completely broke?
And we were actually having a really good conversation. I was able to release. We were talking. And I think it was the first time that I actually expressed how I was feeling. Yeah. Honestly.
You gave yourself permission to express fully at that point.
And then my water just
broke.
It just broke.
And we were like,
I think my mom, it was funny because my mom had just walked in. She had brought food. And then it just...
when I tell you the look of surprise, and she almost jumped. She was like, I think my water broke again.
Yeah. Yeah, this time it wasn't stopping.
Yeah. So there is a such thing as a 4-bag, and your 4-bag does have waters in it. And we think that through the induction process, she had ruptured her 4-bag, and that's what we had earlier that day. But this was the real deal here. This was much more intense. And then it didn't stop. Per contraction, we were like, little splash, little splash, little gush, uncomfortable kind of a deal. How did you take it when the pain first started to kick in?
So because the first few days, right, we were going through those induction processes. They did the balloon?
The cook catheter.
The balloon set the tone so high for contractions that the next few days, everything was like, this is a cakewalk. And I remember even when my water broke, we were in a break. They were giving me a break from all the induction. We were going to let her rest. So I wasn't on anything. And then my water just broke.
Yeah. That was such a freeing experience, I feel like, because it's like, okay, what's holding us up? Well, you still have time because your water hasn't broken, right?
And then the water broke. And it was like, now we got to, it's speeding it up.
And then for context, when we say we got to speed it up, there is an 18-hour window after your water breaks that they would love to see the baby born in that time, because after 18 hours, you open yourself up for a possible infection, right? Did it happen in 18 hours?
Was it 18? No,
it was like 20.
Yeah, it was like almost 24.
I think it was 20.
Because that was day 3 water broke, right? Yep. And
so then, we stayed at a good 3 centimeters for like 2.5 days, almost 3.
Yep.
And
once my water broke, I felt like it was like...
Yeah. We started moving pretty steadily anyway.
Those contractions changed.
Oh, yes. So tell me about that, when the contractions changed for you. Because you did really feel like it was a cakewalk before that. And then it got uncomfortable. And then it was like, no, this hurts.
Yeah.
We are outside of uncomfortability,
and everybody's
right?
looking at me like, how are you just going through these contractions? I'm like, they hurt, but they not.
And she had Pitocin going every now and again. Like,
and I was fine.
She was fine. She did not care.
No, I was good.
That water broke, and sis said, this ain't it.
Oh, man.
She said, you didn't tell me it was going to hurt this bad. Baby, I did. I promise I did.
That was the most... you hear people talk about contractions and water breaking, but it's just... Again, I feel like the whole birthing experience, you can listen to as many stories, as many podcasts, as many videos, as much research as you want to. It's nothing like when you actually start to experience it. Yeah. Those contractions, I'm pretty sure I yelled at you, didn't I, one time?
You absolutely did.
She tried to leave me.
She's like, why would you leave me? I was like, I promise I'm coming back.
I was so uncomfortable.
And there was a component to that, right?
Yeah.
So with me leaving the room, that was something you could control.
Yeah.
You felt like you could,
right? She said she got to eat. I said, fine.
I was like, I just need to throw something in my mouth.
It was like 2 in the morning.
Yes. And I hadn't eaten. I think we had eaten earlier that day, like for breakfast or something like that. And I was like, I just need to I'm thinking to myself, throw something in my mouth before I pass out. But we not gonna worry you about me potentially passing out. I'm gonna just go grab something to eat.
Yeah.
But it was so funny, and you ended up with dual doulas,
Yeah,
right?
I did.
Yep. So
I
her
did.
friend showed up, and we worked out some things together. With you, with everything taking as long as it did, when did it take a turn that you were like, no, this is not what I wanted?
Um. Well, okay. I think the first one, because you remember when they came in and they were, I feel like everybody was like, just take the epidural, and I was like,
no, I will not.
I will not.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's like, you're tired. You've been
You
doing
need
this
to
for
sleep.
3-4 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't been sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that was the first term. I was like, we take the epidural. I got the epidural, and I was like, okay, it's not so bad.
Mm-hmm.
And then her heart rate, they kept tossing.
I went home.
Turning. You did?
I went home.
Because everything was
because
good.
Everything was good.
I about wanted to hug the person that gave me the epidural.
Yes, that type of relief.
Yeah.
After you had been enduring for so long, and I got to stay with her during her epidural as they were administering, and I was like, I won't leave until you're actually ready to go to sleep.
I was comfortable.
And I was like, I'm 4 minutes away from the hospital. I can get dressed in less than 3. So we got like 7 to 10 minutes tops.
Yeah.
And it was it snowing outside?
I think it did.
Because at some point in time, y'all was watching me park like a crazy person out the window.
Yep.
And I got a call from her mom.
Yeah.
And she said, hey, they now need to do a C-section because the baby's heart rate is going down.
You
And
literally
I said,
left.
I will be there in a few minutes.
It was quickly.
I don't play.
It was. I want to say you left. It was like 2 a.m. when you left.
I think that it was around 2 a.m. when I left,
or
it was just before 2.
Okay, so just before, and I think for an hour or two they had me flipping from side. Everything was fine, and then they kept flipping me, but they wouldn't tell me what's going on. And I kept asking, "Is my baby okay? Is she okay?" And they're like, "She's fine. We're just trying to get her, I'm like, okay, but I keep asking because I could feel something was like something was off. And they didn't want to tell me because they couldn't tell yet. And every time she flipped, it was like, okay, she's fine. And I mean, they came in and it was like her heart rate is dropping. And we're going to have the OB come in, count them. If there's more than 50%, we're going to have to rush her in a C-section. And I remember that the midwife saying to me, you can let it release it. Because I was trying so hard to be strong. Like, okay, this is what we got to do. It's for my baby. I did not want a C-section at all. And I remember the feeling of like, we had just got to 5, dilated 5.
Yeah.
I was like,
we had started moving.
Yeah, we were moving.
And when I say that once you get to a 5, that's still not active labor. For those of you that don't know, active labor is 6 centimeters and above. But she had gotten so thinned out, which we had been at a plateau. Yeah. I think we were at 60% for forever, and then it looked like it was 70. And you remember that
balloon? It had shot it back up, and then we had finally got it back.
She had some swelling go on from having the Cook catheter, which is a really rare happening. Typically, the Cook catheter takes 2 balloons and it pushes on the cervix, with the cervix being in here, and it pushes down from the very top, just below where the amniotic sac is, and from the vagina, it's pushing this way, so it almost sandwiches it.
Yeah.
So it's forcing it to thin. It did not.
Yeah, she ran from it.
Yeah, and she actually, what were you, a -2?
Yes.
And we take the balloon out, and they're like, yeah, so you're
built the wall.
You
came back.
You're 60% now.
Like,
we're like, what?
I go backwards.
She walked in at 50%. Like, what is going on? And they're like, yeah, and baby's about a -3, sort of. And I'm like, okay. Am I crazy?
No,
or
and that balloon was that was the most painful injection. I was like, I cried.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize that they'll tell you things like, oh, it'll be uncomfortable for a while. There is a difference between uncomfortable and flat out pain.
That was pain.
For each person, it's different. I technically have to say that. But for most people that have done it, they're like, no, that was painful.
I didn't like that.
But when you made that progress forward to 5 and 80%, I was like, sis,
You remember I was
we're
smiling. I was
mm-hmm.
so happy.
She
I
was
think
so
I had
happy.
just had the epidural too. I was like, yes.
Yeah, she's like, oh, it was so worth it.
This is
Like
great.
we felt like we were getting to the
We
finish line.
did. Yeah.
And when I got there, immediately I'm already taking stuff off as I'm
Yeah,
walking in the
because
room.
it was so quick.
It was very
They
quick.
told me, and I think within not even 30 minutes. Because
Mm-hmm.
I asked, I'm like, do I have time to Nope.
No.
And like, we're suiting her up. My mom
Yeah.
was suiting up. We were like, Rakisha's coming back. It
Mm-hmm.
was quick.
And when I got there, and I remember standing in the hallway with your mom, because of course we was like selfies.
Yeah.
We weren't in that hallway very long, and most times they have us in a hallway for quite some time. And I remember when I walked in and you were already laying there, and you just had that look on your face like, no. Talk to me about how you were feeling as they're raising the drapes and your arms are out like this, right? Where was your head?
I know I was nervous. I was scared. Because I think even before, we hadn't really talked about the C-section. The C-section until like maybe a couple days before that, when you had me watch the video for the 7 layers, because I was so like, if
we never made it to the session in your childbirth education where we were going to talk about that.
And my thing was, as long as I don't focus on it, it won't happen. If I just don't even think C-section, we'll be fine. It won't happen. I have a good support system. We're gonna make this work. And of course, you can't control everything.
No, can't control everything.
It's like a major theme in my pregnancy. You can't control it. Everything. But what got me through was thinking, once you go through this, your daughter is going to be okay. That was like, she's going to be here. It's going to be okay. And you no longer have to worry about what your body is doing that may affect her.
Yeah.
Because she was healthy and everything was fine, but I still was like, I felt like my body was just shutting down. Like it couldn't handle pregnancy at that point anymore. Yep. Right. So what kept me going, I'm like, okay, we can get through this. If we push through, she'll be fine. She'll be out, and then all I have to do is heal and take care of her. I have my baby. The pain part will be over. But that is what I had to keep telling myself to overpower the like nervousness, because you like 7 layers of skin. Oh my God, I don't get to feel my baby push through and then hold her. It was completely different. I feel like everything was running through my head, from my mom cutting the umbilical cord to like everything was just like, oh my God, everything is going to be so different. And then and I even remember them starting and they're like, you're going to feel pressure. I felt like I could feel everything.
Because you were very in tune with your body. And I remember when she was out, she was perfect and she was fine. She had a little bit of trouble. I remember watching you hold your breath and telling you, Darika, breathe.
You did. You
have to breathe. You cannot hold your breath. I said, she's going to cry. And she cried. Yeah. And she went, and then the tears just started to come out. Skin to Skin is offered in the OR, but to understand exactly what's happening when you no longer have control of your lower limbs and you can't really feel anything in your lower body, your upper body is just as confused. Like, I don't know why we can feel this and not that.
Yeah.
And so in trying to help her become skin to skin with you, how are you doing with that?
I don't, it's crazy because I just remember you asking, it was fuzzy. I remember you asked, because I almost made me want to cry, because I was holding my breath when I felt them pull her out and I didn't hear her. I was like, no. I feel like you have this worry all the way up until you hear that cry.
Yeah.
I heard that cry and I felt like I could, okay, you did it. Like, she's here. She's good. He yelled out 8 pounds, 3 ounces. I said, oh, she's good. And I remember you asking me, like, do you want to hold her? And I remember afterwards you telling me, like, my arm was so limp. Like, I wasn't. But, and
it's really weird. You were, I feel like, I don't know if it was your subconscious that was making you feel more numb than what you were, or if, in fact, you were actually just very numb in your upper body as
Yeah.
well, because I remember you saying like, "What?
I
It's
can't.
weird for me to bring my arm over," and I was like, "Well, I can help you." And because you could not feel yourself holding her, we did cheek to cheek.
Yeah, that's why I remember cheek to cheek. Because I don't ever remember.
Mhm.
I just remember being like, I can't. I can't. My body. My body. Yeah. But I do. I remember you bringing her cheek to cheek, and it's
Mhm.
crazy because now, a lot of times when I hold her, she'll just put her cheek on me, and I just like, this is like when we first met.
Yep. Yep. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
So you're a mom now officially,
Yeah.
right? Beautiful. She's beautiful.
Thank you.
You doing it.
Thank you.
How is life for you as a mom now? Tell me about some ups and downs, and you can go as deep as you want,
Okay.
or you can keep it at the surface.
You know, and I'll be honest because I do feel like a lot of things, especially when I feel like I'm a good person, right? And I think a lot of the things that I experienced through my pregnancy were so opposite of what you expect good people to go through,
And what
right?
you deserve.
And what you deserve, yes, and what I deserve. So I want to be honest because I do feel like I went through it for somebody else.
Okay.
So as single motherhood has been, it's weird because you're on this line, this like teeter totter of like, this is the best thing in the world. Like this experience is so amazing. Oh my God, I love my daughter. I'm obsessed with her. Like, wow, you really came for me, you know? But then on the other end, a lot of times you have that imposter syndrome where you feel like, oh, I failed. Oh, I didn't give her.
What did I do wrong?
What did I do wrong? Really big on what did I do wrong. I go back on a lot of the decisions I made that I know were for her and I peace and be like, well, you could have done this. But I was really stern on trying to stick to being the best mom that I can be, the woman that I want my daughter to be able to see and, you know. So it's you on the teeter totter, and then I'm like, I'm a single mom, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't believe it. Especially at 28, right? You think, oh, there's no way that I should have been making a mistake of not my child's father not being around.
That wasn't your mistake, though, was it?
No. Which, and I'm still, you know,
you're still learning to not own things that aren't yours.
Yep. Yeah, because I and you hear about it a lot, right? When you look up, you talk about moms because you try and find your community, and so many people talk about how much is put on moms, and it's so far more than just the childbirth in the postpartum. It's like you think everything is your fault. Like it's been times where I have to tell myself like, okay, remove your emotions from it because it's not about you, but you just feel like, what did I do wrong? What did how can I make it better? What do I need to do? And it's not fair to a lot of moms either because, like you said, it's not on us, and we can't control that control word, control other people's actions. So it's really, and then people ask me like, how's motherhood? And I'm like, it's a transition. It's the best word that I can use for it. It's a transition.
I love that.
It's such a transition. And I have always struggled with transitions because I want to be in control of the transition. And I cannot be in control of the transition.
I think that the journey into motherhood, because you are a mother in pregnancy, right? But there's a transition from being a pregnant mother into being a mother caring for your newborn, but you had a subtext transition into single motherhood.
Yeah.
The realization that the family that you knew you wanted for her is not a thing. Talk to me about how that affected your mental health, postpartum mental health. Because prenatal mental health, you almost had this thing down of convincing yourself that, hey, no, we got this. This is what it is.
Yeah, I remember telling you that I was like, I did not realize the change in mind that was needed for me from pregnancy, where I'm like, okay, we got this. I'm affirmationed up. I got this. It's gonna be okay. You know, God gives his hardest fights to his strongest soldiers. Like, you got it. It's cool. It's a reason you here. It won't be like this forever. And then I had her. I was in the hospital by myself.
Yep.
And I shouldn't say, when I say by myself, I had amazing support, but I didn't have her dad. And so I'm in the hospital by myself, and I'm telling myself, I don't want him here. I don't want him here, knowing that it would have been great, you know.
And remember when I finally sat down with you when I came up, I can't remember if you were 1 or 2 days postpartum, and I said, you don't want him here, but you want him here.
Yeah.
You wish that he was here.
Yeah, because it was an experience.
You deserved that.
Yeah,
because that's the expectation.
Yeah,
right?
It is, and that is such. You think about life and death when you're in the hospital, right? And you're bringing in a child into this world, and it is hard. It's hard, and you want that support, even though I didn't have it through my pregnancy anyways. So, but it was just something about then that was like, man.
Well, you transform into a new version of yourself after giving birth.
Yeah.
And we don't know that person.
No.
We don't know that person. Like, you took a full 9 months to get to know the you that was carrying a child, right? But we don't know that person that has to care for a child.
Yeah, you didn't.
Right?
I never thought about it. And then even having her, right? It was like, I remember saying to you the transition again. I was like, man, I had, like you said, I had it. I felt like I had it down pat, but then I had her, and I was like, seriously, I kept saying to myself, what did I do? Like, oh my God, did I mess up? Did I mess up?
And people don't realize that is the thought process. They can say what they want about, well, you chose to do this, you chose to do that, or you could have done this that would have prevented that. Yeah. But in actuality, there's a constant conversation going on inside the mind. What if I would have? Yeah. Should I have? Yeah. And all of these things.
Can I rewind time?
Right, exactly. And when you're faced with your expectation versus reality, in that it can be a blow. And I don't mean like, oh, that kind of took the wind out of me. Like, knock me out.
Yeah, can't breathe for like a year.
Yes. And so I wanted to lean into, how are you dealing with those thoughts? Because they don't go away. No, they don't go away.
They don't.
How are you dealing with that? With your expectation versus your reality.
You know, I feel like that it's honestly probably the hardest part for me. Like, I don't struggle with, bonding with her. Like, I'm like, give me my baby person, But those thoughts, when people say time heals all wounds,
you waiting on it to start.
It's the most annoying saying that I've ever heard, especially when you deal with death and people say it. So I lost somebody really close to me, which is who she's named after, a week before I turned 17. And time has not healed that wound. So I knew that that's not really true how it happens. But I feel like kind of time doesn't heal the wound. You learn to every day how to deal with it a different way, because every day is going to sneak up on you from something different. Something new is going to trigger you. So
and this is kind of a form of grief.
Yeah.
Not having the family that you should have.
Yeah.
And grief goes in cycles. It can look like an infinity symbol. It can go in a circular motion. It can zigzag back and forth between two emotions. And then you'll have a day where you're like,
I'm fine.
Everything's great.
Yeah, it's good.
It feels perfect.
This is awesome. I don't have to share my baby with nobody.
Right. And then all of a sudden the next day or that night, you're like, why ain't nobody helping me with this?
I can't pass the baby to nobody. It's all me. Oh, she crying. I need help, but it's me. And I have help, but it's, you still do grieve the help that you expected, right? My thing is always making sure that nobody else is paying for where I messed up at. And so that stops me from asking for the help that I do have around me, because I feel like it took two people to make the child, but it's just
now
me.
you're asking for other people.
Yeah,
and
right.
It
And
all really falls on you.
me. Yeah. So they're there for sure. I still have my moments, and then I have my, like, some days I'm even so good that I'm like, you know what? Let's be delusional. One day it will work out. It's
Absolutely.
It's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
She's gonna have both parents. It's gonna be great.
Uh-huh.
And then I'm like, but then be realistic. You know, sometimes you have to look at what has happened, but also the delusion helps sometimes, because you never know. God works miracles. You never know what could happen and what could change. But
I love that you still hold out the hope, not necessarily for a relationship, but for her to have her father.
Yeah, because she
deserves
that.
Absolutely.
She deserves that. I deserved it and I didn't have it, but she deserves it. So
absolutely. So we won't get into cycles repeating themselves, because you just said a whole word. I deserved it and I didn't have it.
Yeah.
Right? Why don't we talk about what is self-care, Darika? Do you know?
I know what it is. I knew what it was before I got pregnant.
I
got pregnant.
You knew what it was.
And I was big on it. Self-care is, I built a whole brand around beauty, but also the spiritual part of it, and then the physical part of it, right? But then life took that turn, and then I had to deal with letting go of my expectations of how things were.
Yeah.
So I was constantly changing my mind about how I was seeing things. But self-care, beforehand, oh my goodness, you say self-care. I'm like, it's so important. I know it is. Take that time, y'all.
Yeah.
Meditate, do your affirmations, speak life into yourself. I was big on it. But it has been the hardest thing.
Yeah.
It's you.
Because where are you on your priority list right now?
I
today. If we had to only go today, if we didn't look at yesterday or last month or the month before, where are you on your priority list today?
Okay, so health-wise, I would be at the bottom, because I actually, today I showered. I got her dressed. I got dressed. I threw on my necklace. I put my hair in a puff.
Yes.
We did. So we
shout out to the puff.
You feel
it's puffing.
Thank
today,
you.
All right.
We about like 50% today.
Okay.
If we only focus on today, physical health, mental. Honestly, the fact that I got up, I try and give myself the pats on the backs.
Good job.
I got up today, and I was prepared, because I wanted to have an excuse for. I was like, maybe someone work. Maybe Rakisha forget, and she won't come.
Maybe she'll have to do a burp.
Yeah, she'll have to do something. Some gonna work out where I can just stay in the house in this little loop. And it didn't. I still got up, and I was dressed, and I was prepared. I didn't come up with an excuse. I didn't try and cancel. I got here to get the help that I've been wanting and I have needed. And then, honestly, sitting here doing a podcast and speaking about those things, you've aligned me with a great opportunity today, and I just got that email. So, like, what I'm saying? So now it's feeling like I would move myself up higher, because these things, I feel like myself when I'm doing the things that make me happy, which is being a boss, that entrepreneur boss. You're doing stuff that you want to do, that makes you feel good, to speak up and use your voice for what I feel like is part of my purpose.
Yeah. And that's what you'll be doing here really soon, too.
Yeah.
She's going to be a parent voice on a governance board. We won't talk about where or when just yet, because we'll let them release that. But I chose you for a reason. Partially because I know your journey. Yeah. But I know that you feel your very best when you can give voice to things, which is another reason why we're doing this podcast. Yes. Because not only is your voice important, but your experience is important. And I don't think that we give back to mothers enough for having survived things. And as mothers are learning to thrive through things, we don't highlight them enough. Yeah. So that's why I have you here today. what's your favorite thing to think about when it comes to the future for you and your baby girl?
Oh, the push that she has started in me, that fire.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I had a fire ahead of me because I'm the oldest of seven, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to do all these things, but it's something different about create. Like I'm creating a life not just for myself anymore, and then for
Mm-hmm.
everybody else, but it's for both of us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So my favorite thing is like, you want me to tell you how delusional I be?
Girl, go all the way into it. I live for the delusion because
Listen,
let me tell you, Milk Like Mine was a delusion at some point in time, and now it's
and
here,
it's here.
and it's ever morphing and changing and
Yeah.
expanding. So I wouldn't even call it the delusion.
Yeah.
I would call it give me your best case scenario.
So we're doing good, I am back on my feet. When I say back on my feet, I want to go back to I have went back to school.
Mm-hmm.
I have my business degree, I have my social work degree.
Mm-hmm.
My She Feral Beauty is thriving.
Mm-hmm.
We are
Because you and your mom kind of want to do a combo thing in the future too,
yeah, we
right?
have
I
so we have
remember.
our school.
I
Yeah.
remember. I
Yeah,
remember.
beauty is we're passing beauty and healing along in a different way that we've
Uh-huh.
never seen it before.
Mm-hmm.
So we're thriving there. I'm able to allow her to kind of not have to do a 9 to 5, but be able to help kids in another way
Mm-hmm.
while doing what she loves. Because she used to want to do fashion and have her own line. Beauty
Mm-hmm.
has just been a part of our journey. But
Mm-hmm.
we're back in our own space, our home.
Mm-hmm.
I'm back on my feet to the point of feeling like I'm independent, but I have a balance of
Mm-hmm.
a better understanding of being able to be independent, but still asking for that help when I
Yeah,
need it.
absolutely.
Man, my YouTube is jumping.
Hey, we gonna get it there.
We
Gonna get it
healing,
there.
yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to talk about solo parenting and healing in another form that is
Mm-hmm.
helping women and men for solo parenting to heal and go
Mm-hmm.
through that journey because I've been there. So
So I want to lean into that because people feel like, oh, bitter baby mama.
no,
This is not that.
no,
This
I
is
feel
not
like
that.
it's
And
turning my
it's
pain into purpose.
yes, exactly. This is a taking lemons and making lemonade type
Yes,
deal.
yes,
What we won't do is live in an alternate universe that makes things what they aren't.
yes.
So we won't give credit where credit is
It's
not
not
due,
due,
and we
yeah.
won't take credit away from where it's due.
Absolutely.
And I think that as you see in your best case scenario, being able to help men and women understand that there's a healing process that has to happen, you start with yourself
Yeah,
so that you lead by example.
exactly.
And I think that that's beautiful. If you had something that you needed to tell parents,
Yeah.
but particular first time moms, what would it be?
I would say I would say release control.
Yeah.
Nothing you have no you have no control. And it sounds like the most scariest thing in the world, but it's also the most rewarding thing.
Mm-hmm.
And although right now you don't see how it could be rewarding, you don't see how it is changing you,
Mm-hmm.
know that down the line, and I know that I'm growing into this magical human being
Mm-hmm.
from dealing with everything. And I feel like if we just can remember that everything that we are going through, you're going through right now, is temporary to make you into who you're supposed to be,
Mm-hmm.
it'll push you right through you.
Absolutely. And relinquishing control does not mean that you let somebody else take over your
No.
life. Absolutely not.
No, it
And
means you set boundaries.
and you learn adaptability.
Yes.
Adaptability and flexibility. Um, I think that you have some mama melanated magic in yourself that you want to share with people. So we are going to celebrate you and do that with you in every instance. I was just talking to you earlier today, and I was like, maybe on the 14th, where our single moms feel,
Yeah.
very left out, we can meet up here at milk like mine and have my
Seriously.
mimosas or something to that
Yeah.
effect, and just chill and enjoy each other's company, because it's not about a holiday, it's just another day. I
Yeah.
don't even celebrate holidays personally,
Yeah.
but remembering to tell each other, I see you. You
Yes,
count. You
because
still
that what
matter.
matters. Yeah.
You know, and so I think that that might be something that we're going to do. We are introducing a new annual event alongside of and almost replacing our breastfeeding in the park event, but that'll be for another podcast.
Yeah.
We'll talk
I
about
love
that.
that.
So we will have fun, and I think that you're beautiful. Your baby girl is beautiful.
Thank
Your
you.
life has so much purpose, a lot of things that you haven't even experienced yet, that is all yours because of who you are.
Yeah.
So I want you to stay encouraged,
Thank you.
engage in some self care. Figure out what your new definition of self care
Okay.
is.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's good.
Hey, when you figure it out, we'll bring you back.
Okay.
All right.
I love that.
Well, that is going to be it for us. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Peace.